My amazing friend Abby Grace from DC is here, and she is photographing one of her couples in the city, and I can hear her laughing behind me. Oh my gosh. No, but Abby and I have known each other for how many years? But you can come in there. I don't know, I'm like, she didn't come on the vlog. She's hiding behind the tree.
How long has it been, like 5 or 6 or 7 years?
A long time.
A long time.
A really long time.
I started following you, we started like chatting on it when you were still in college. How long ago was that?
Not that long.
I mean like 2 years ago.
I'm not that old.
Yeah.
Like yesterday.
I also was in college yesterday.
We've traveled together all over the US. We run into each other sporadically.
I know.
In Charleston last night.
All right, guys, I'm gonna bring you around back. Natalie Franke? Shut up.
Shut up!
No. Like in San Francisco, where I do not live.
No. Not even on this coast.
And you can tell that it was sporadic because my hair was in a really unprofessional, messy bun. Would not have looked like that if it was planned. Sweetest, and I love her.
So if you guys don't know Abby, don't follow her work. You need to go do it. This is a demand. This is not a request.
This is not a joke.
Go ahead and check out. We're gonna link to her if you're on YouTube down below. If you're on Facebook, up above.
I feel like I'm ready for the first day of school. Like, are you ready? Is your backpack on? Are you ready to go? It's tight. We're good. All right.
So obviously Photoshop for photographers, letterpress for calligraphers.
Oh, I love that.
This is our all hands area. So this is where we all have our 9 a.m. meeting together as a company, like everyone does. So it's about 100.
Okay. We have 70 here in San Francisco and 30 in Tel Aviv. And I really want to go to Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
I think that sounds fantastic. I think that I know that you did. I think you did a webinar, yes, and our blog post.
Yes, and I'm doing a webinar next Wednesday with Ashley.
And then if not, I'll reach back out to you to add things or change things.
Knowing the impact that all the other products have had on people just makes me so excited, not just for their business, because it does totally up-level your business, but it's just so much better for your life.
Yeah. We can go to lunch.
Bye. Have fun at lunch.
I am heading to lunch right now with an amazing Rising Tide Society member who I connected with at the last San Francisco meetup, and I'm super excited just to go, eat some good food, and connect. I am a destination wedding photographer. I started my company on the East Coast in the mid-Atlantic states, moved to Florida, and rocked out on the beach for a couple years there, and then moved here because my husband is a native, which is rare these days.
It is rare.
Yeah. Yeah, he's actually 5th generation. We like to brag about it. Lunch was amazing. Now I'm getting ready to hop into a budget meeting, which is always fun, and I think I'm late. And that was Abby. Do you see? Okay.
Hey.
We're just talking about work. We're not talking about Game of Thrones again.
Stop.
I don't know why
Every
you
time I
keep
come
coming
in,
in
you guys are talking about
here.
Game of
I'm just saying I love Jon Snow, and that's the beginning and end of everything. Okay? That's all you need to know.
Stop. I can't keep interrupting these meetings. All you're guys are talking about is Game of Thrones.
He's probably like, I wonder what juicy conversation they're having about life. And we're like, did you see Jon Snow in the last episode? Kent, are you still here? Are you?
Oh god, yeah, my bad.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right, keep working.
All right. But Daenerys Targaryen. I mean,
Stop.
No, but I loved it. You'd be like, it's 5-minute call. 5-minute call tops. 45 minutes later, and we're like, I'm so sorry. I know you gotta go.
But then like 30 minutes after that, it would, and we'd still be talking. And it was always good stuff, and I always walk away from these conversations like something dramatic has transformed, or like I feel immeasurably better about something, and it was always good stuff, but it was just like, I couldn't stop talking.
Because we would talk about things that I wouldn't feel comfortable just talking about with anybody, or I would assume like maybe you wouldn't either. So we talk about things like prices, like how to raise prices, when to raise prices. Am I overpriced? Am I underpriced?
Right.
I'm like all of that.
Yeah, no. So I have a friend who was a speaker at a conference, at a workshop, and she was brought into, she gave one talk. The workshop was like 2 or 3 days long. She was giving one like 45-minute talk, but then she was also on hand to style throughout the duration of the workshop. And this workshop required like a 4-hour flight, and then from that flight, an hour Uber to the location, and then an hour Uber back. And so when she was asking me how to help, like how to tell them what she wanted to charge, I said you need to bare minimum be charging $750 for your time, and then on top of that your travel needs to be covered. And they came back and said, okay, well we can do $700 total. So $700 for 3 hours, for 3 days of being on hand to style, to give her talk, and then also to cover her travel. Mind you, these people that were putting on this workshop were also being paid for this workshop by the people that were attending it. And so when we were talking last week, my friend said like, well, you know, like they didn't pay me as much as I'd wanted to be, but like, my expenses were covered. Like it was profitable. Like I walked away like having my expenses covered, and then with a little bit of money. And I was like, hold up, we need to like have a real conversation about what profitability means, because profitability isn't just like my out-of-pocket expenses were covered and then I got to take home $5 extra, so bada bing, like that's profitable. Because when you think about it, like from a corporate perspective, like, I mean, you guys experience, like working here, you experience that. Like if you go out and you spend money on a project, like your employer's not just going to reimburse you for the cost of the project, he's also going to pay you your salary, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And so there's a gross misunderstanding as creatives what the term expense means and like expenditure. Like, because I was looking at, I'm writing a blog post on it. The term expenditure, Business Dictionary defines it as payment of cash or cash equivalent for goods or services. And so we're only ever accounting for the cost of goods, but our services have to also be compensated as well. Like the best way to figure it out is, okay, like what did you make last year? Take a look at your tax return. What did you make? What did you spend? Great, that sounds good on paper, but your expenses were $30,000.
Here we go.
So now you're looking at, okay, $20,000 left. But what about all the costs of doing business? What about insurance? What about your website? What about your bookkeeper? What about like all of the other things that go into running a business? Let's take that out. Now you're down to like $10,000. $10,000 for 2,000 hours
Without
of work.
taxes. We haven't even taxed you yet.
Exactly. Is not profitable.
Exactly. I think a lot of it stems too from self-worth. This fear of I can't charge what I'm worth, or questioning like, what am I worth? What is my rate for my services? And I see a lot, and I'm sure you see this too, when I educate, especially young creatives or young photographers, they are so fearful of charging what they're actually worth. They think there's no way anyone would ever pay that. There's no, and we still, even as a veteran, I remember raising my rates like $5,000 to $6,000 to $7,200 for a wedding. I remember taking those jumps and having that moment of,
What if nobody pays it?
What if nobody pays it?
Yeah.
But also understanding a couple of things. One, every time I did that, I raised for everybody. When we step up together and we recognize this is what you're worth, your time is valuable. When one woman steps up and does it, then it is a rising tide. Like I know I'm beating my saying here, but it's true. Does that difference between what women make and men make in the corporate world actually parallel in the creative space?
I would be really interested to know that as well. And I mean, because like, if you look at like wedding photography, like in the wedding photography world specifically, male photographers versus female photographers, there's definitely a difference in the way that we get treated on wedding days.
Without a doubt.
But I would be interested to know if those behavioral assumptions that we see and the behavioral differences on wedding days translate to like a pay difference in terms of like what they're charging, what men are charging versus what women are charging, and especially taking into account the fact that the wedding photography industry specifically has been so flooded by females recently.
And I think with one of the next surveys we need to do, we need to ask across the board and get thousands of people inputting what they actually make honestly.
Yeah.
Like I'd be curious, does a male photographer with 5 years of experience in DC make more or less of the same as a female photographer with 5 years of experience in DC? I want to know that.
Oh, I'd love to know
I
that.
think it would be fascinating. You and I both remember 2007, 2008. There weren't a ton of women. I mean, it was the beginning of women starting to almost dominate. It's interesting. So I would be curious to see, did it actually swing the other way?
And I'm just really interested to see how that survey might play out.
I want to see the data.
Yeah.
I want to see the data. I want to understand if there is a difference. And then we can start to kind of figure out why. This is the reality, and actually it mirrors. Or, wow, there is no difference. And what does that say? I would love to see that. And what if we saw equality in the entrepreneurial space and could maybe discover how that's happening, and then maybe we could use that information to help the corporate side. Like I find it interesting, and I think it's very relevant right now. So I'm excited to see sort of that route. But again, it goes back to the idea, are we, creatives at large, regardless of gender, are we valuing our time enough? I think this is a conversation that we need to have.